Ever wonder if your life has a price tag? John Harlan didn't think so until he stood outside a hotel room, listening to his wife's heavy breathing mingling with her lover's raspy laugh. That's when it hit him. This wasn't just some random affair. This was a trap, calculated down to the last cent. Sarah and Michael had appraised him, a 36-year-old software engineer, a nice guy, a provider, valued at exactly $500,000. That's the payout they'd get for turning his life into a perfect accident. But they made a fatal mistake. They priced a coder in cash, forgetting that in the digital world, death isn't the end. It's just a line of code, ... waiting to be overwritten. John didn't kick the door down. He didn't play the victim. He stepped back, looked at his phone as it recorded every sound, and smiled a cold, ruthless smile. Because, while they were dreaming of insurance money, he was already coding their death warrants through a virus of lies they'd never see coming. But are you ready to pay the price with him? Especially when winning means two innocent kids lose their childhood, and when your only ally hides a secret darker than your enemy's. Don't scroll away. A twist you won't see coming is about to drop something that makes this murder plot look like child's play. It'll change how you look at the person sleeping next to you tonight. If you've ever felt like the underdog, ... keep watching. John's about to prove that in this world, the one who holds the data holds the fate. Are you ready to flip the board with John? If you're sick of people treating lives like profit, hit like and subscribe to Stand for Justice right now. Let's wind back the clock, back to that freezing hallway outside room 2102 in New York. John is standing there, the bouquet in his hand hitting the floor as he hears his wife and her boss crunching the numbers on his life. Exactly $500,000 in life insurance. A 36-year-old engineer who sacrificed everything for his family, realizing he's just a variable in someone else's financial equation. And now, holding a tiny USB drive with every scrap of evidence, John faces a choice. Revenge, the only way he knows how. Sophisticate, systematic, and probably more brutal than any physical outburst. But his victory's sweet when the cost is the innocence of two children. A text flashes on his laptop screen, chilling to the bone. He only makes $65,000. Easy pickings. That $500,000 is hours after the accident. That day, John's decision came from a place of pure love. He'd booked a last-minute flight to NYC to surprise Sarah, the marketing director at Apex Corp. She said she was on a high-stakes business trip with her boss, Michael Lang. John used his $4,000 bonus to buy the necklace she'd been eyeing. He booked the flight and a fancy dinner, imagining her face lighting up. He had no clue that when the wheels touched down, he was walking straight into a trap, months in the making, a trap his own blind trust helped build. They met 7 years ago. Sarah's ambition balanced John's quiet logic perfectly. She always pushed him, never settled for average. 7 years later, John thought they'd made it, until he realized her honesty was just a script, and his worth had been appraised at $500,000, the price of the dream she wanted him to pay for with his life. The plane touched down at JFK at 6:47 p.m. sharp. John grabbed his carry-on, his heart racing with excitement. He caught an Uber to the Skyline Tower, glass steel, and luxury marble floors. He walked up to the front desk, trying to hide his nerves. "I'm actually here to surprise my wife," John told the receptionist. "Sarah Harlan. She's here for a conference." The young girl behind the desk, Maria, tapped a few keys. John watched her face shift from professional to confused, then finally to pure discomfort. John's hand instinctively gripped the edge of the marble counter. His knuckles turned white, nails digging into the stone as if trying to hold on to something solid. A bead of sweat rolled down his neck, ice cold. "I see Mrs. Harlan checked in Tuesday," Maria said cautiously. "But sir, the room is under her corporate card, and there's another guest listed on the reservation." The lobby suddenly felt airless. Maria leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "And Mr. Michael Lang also from Apex Corp. They're sharing the suite." Michael Lang, Executive VP, Sarah's direct boss. The name hit John like a physical blow. "I see," John said, his voice sounding hollow even to his own ears. "Thanks, Maria." He walked toward the elevators like a ghost, pressing 21. His mind raced with fragile explanations, but they shattered as the doors opened to a silent hallway. 2100. 2101. He stopped at 2102. A dollar for thousand necklace in his pocket. Suddenly felt heavy dash ridiculous. He raised a fist to knock, but froze. Sounds were bleeding through the door. Sarah's voice. Breathy giggles. Then the giggles turned into moans. The rhythmic creak of furniture. The heavy breathing. Sarah's voice, the one he thought was reserved only for him. John didn't kick the door down. He pulled out his phone, hands trembling as he filmed the room number and recorded the audio. His first piece of evidence. Then came Michael's voice. That low-paid husband of yours. Let me teach you a lesson. Money decides who wins this game. And Sarah's response, cold and lethal. You're right. He won't earn in a lifetime what you get in a yearly bonus. That romantic necklace he's planning to give me, bought with his petty freelance cash. It's pathetic. The necklace slipped from John's hand, falling silently onto the plush red carpet of the hallway. In that split second, he remembered his hesitation 3 days ago. That $4,000 could have bought a new tool for his trade. But he chose Sarah's happiness. He chose love. Maria, the receptionist, had watched him from the distance. She walked over, picked up the necklace, and watched John slumped back as he walked away. She whispered, "I'm so sorry, sir." John's knees felt weak. The world tilted. He was paralyzed, yet hyper-aware of every tiny detail. The hum of the ice machine, the faint smell of bleach, the abstract painting opposite room 2102, with red slashes across a black canvas. The sounds meant his marriage was dead. The sounds meant everything he believed about his life was a lie. He didn't know how long he stood there. He wanted to burst in, but his strategic training told him to wait, to plan. Confronting them now, in this state of shock and rage, would solve nothing. They'd find a way to make him the villain. John needed leverage, evidence. He needed to know the full scope of what was happening before he struck. Meanwhile, inside 2102, Sarah looked at herself in the luxury bathroom mirror. No tears, no regret. She just touched up her lipstick, looked at the $4,000 necklace, and smiled at her reflection, the smile of a predator watching its prey walk into the trap. John picked up the necklace from the carpet, headed back to the elevator, and returned to the lobby. His hands were uncannily steady as he approached Maria again. "I need a room for tonight," he said. "Anything available?" Maria looked relieved. He wasn't making a scene. "Of course, Mr. Harlan. We have a standard room for $295 a night." John handed over his credit card. "This is coming out of our joint account," he thought with a surge of bitterness. He took the key to room 1508, 6 floors away from his wife and her lover. The room was beautiful, expensive, and empty. John ignored the minibar despite the burning thirst for alcohol. He sat on the edge of the bed. His first instinct was to smash everything, but the hand that was shaking moments ago picked up the phone and hit record. Every piece of evidence was collected not with tears, but through a cold lens. The corner of the 21st floor hallway, his own plane ticket showing the time, the receptionist's confused face. Every photo, every recording was a line of code for the destruction program he was writing for his marriage. Then, with a terrifying calm, he drafted a text, not an accusation at bait. "Hey babe, hope the conference is going well. You've been thinking about you all day. Can't wait to hear about the presentation when you get home. Miss you, love you." He stared at the words. Let her believe he was still the fool. Let her feel safe in her shell of lies. 3 dots appeared instantly. Sarah was typing. "Miss you. Circumference is exhausting but good. Learning a lot. Michael's presentation went great. Might be another late night. Love you, John Reed." Every word. "Miss you while Michael was." Another late night, another. Meaning there were previous times. How many? The words, "Love you" are now worth exactly 1 night in a hotel. Acid churned in his throat. He closed his eyes, gripping the phone. The pain was clawing at him, but another voice, cold and clear, cut through. "Data. I need more data." Heart pounding, he opened his laptop. Company emails. His eyes locked onto a subject line from HR. Dated 6 weeks ago, right when the texts with Michael started heating up. Life insurance change. Increase from $100,000 to $500,000. Requested by Sarah Harlan. Beneficiary, John Harlan. $500,000. The number danced behind his eyelids. Why the 5-fold increase? Why would Sarah, who couldn't care less about HR forms, suddenly do this? The thought hit him like an ice pick to the spine. No, Sarah was a cheater, a pro at gaslighting, sure, but a murderer. But the seed of doubt was planted. It festered, its roots digging deep, until that $500,000 figure became a black sun, radiating a paranoid energy that burned away any chance of sleep. Under the cold blue light of his phone, he spiraled into a frantic deep dive. He researched Washington divorce laws on infidelity and the misappropriation of joint funds. He scrutinized Michael's terrifyingly perfect LinkedIn profile. Then, a memory twisted like a knife. Laura, Michael's wife. Her face came back to him, clearly elegant, kind, the woman from the company holiday party. Her voice echoed in his head, excitedly talking about 13-year-old Ethan and 10-year-old Olivia. Did she know? Was she sitting in their house in Buckhead, trusting her husband just as naively as John had trusted Sarah? That night, John was trapped in a hellish loop. Every time he closed his eyes, the audio from room 2102 came flooding back. The laughs, the moans, the talk of $500,000. Every time he drifted off, his heart hammered against his ribs like he was trying to break through, dragging him back to consciousness, back to the undeniable truth. This wasn't just betrayal. This was an equation where the result was his death, and Sarah was calculating every variable. Friday morning, on the flight back to Seattle, a plan as sharp as a scalpel took shape in John's mind. No confrontation, not a single hint of suspicion. He returned to their Craftsman home, but it wasn't a home anymore. Everything was infected with a virus of lies. John's will became razor-sharp. He would sweep every corner of that house, gathering everything he needed. Because he understood one simple truth that Sarah and Michael had overlooked. In any conflict, the one with the most data and the most patience wins. But his patience didn't have to wait long. Wednesday night, Sarah did something she hadn't done. In 3 months, she cooked pasta and squeezed 2 glasses of fresh orange juice. I know I've been cold lately. I'm sorry. Work has just been a pressure cooker. She smiled, sliding a glass toward him. Vitamin C is good for stress, John. She placed one in front of him and kept the other for herself. John looked at the 2 glasses, identical in color. But his engineer's instinct was screaming, why is she suddenly wife of the year after 3 months of ice? Sarah sat down and took a small sip from her own glass. She watched him, her eyes expectant, encouraging him to drink. Right then, her phone buzzed. The name Michael flashed on the screen. Go ahead and drink up. It'll do you good. I have to take this, Sarah said quickly. She rushed onto the balcony and slid the door shut, her voice dropping to a whisper. John's heart was thumping. It his only chance. In one swift motion, John poured the entire glass into the soil of the potted ivy Sarah had planted last year. Then, he quickly topped the glass with filtered water from the table pitcher to keep the level of the same. Sarah stepped back inside, hanging up. Work drama. It's complicated. She glanced at the table. John's glass was half empty. Did you drink it? There was a hint of surprise in her voice, her eyes brightening. Yeah, it's great. Thanks. John took another sip of the plain water, pretending to savor it. Sarah stared at the glass for a long moment, then smiled. But her eyes swept the room, observing, waiting for something. Dinner was a minefield of unspoken tension. John decided to play his part. Actually, you were right. I'm feeling pretty drowsy. Maybe I've just been overworking. I think I'll head up early. Yeah, get some rest, babe. Sarah's smile was radiant. Again, filled with relief. John went to the bedroom and shut the door, but he didn't sleep. He lay there, eyes wide, ears tuned to every vibration in the house. 15 minutes later, he heard Sarah's light footsteps on the stairs. The door creaked, open just a crack. John, you asleep? She whispered. John kept his breathing rhythmic, faking a deep sleep, even letting out a soft, convincing snore. The door clicked shut. Her footsteps retreated downstairs. Then, a phone call drifted up from the living room. Call on Michael. Work. The pills aren't hitting like he said they would. Maybe the dose was too low. Yeah, we'll have to increase it next time. I can't wait forever, Michael. John lay, paralyzed on the bed. The room felt like it was spinning. This wasn't just a hunch anymore. This was a confession. Sarah didn't just want him asleep. She wanted him out cold, so she could stage an accident without a fight. The next morning, John wakes up early. He heads to the living room and looks at the potted plant he'd poured the orange juice into. He freezes. The leaves that were lush and green just yesterday are now yellowed, curled, and the veins have turned a dark, sickly brown. In less than 12 hours, the plant is practically dead. John collapses onto the kitchen floor, breaking into a cold sweat. His hands shake uncontrollably. If he'd drunk that glass, a high dose of sedatives mixed with something else, it could have caused liver failure, kidney damage, or respiratory arrest. Sarah didn't just want a divorce. She wanted him dead, to collect $500,000 in insurance, to be free with Michael without splitting any assets. She failed this time, but next time, she'd said, increase the dose. She would try again, and next time, he might not be lucky enough to react. If he didn't act now, the next attempt wouldn't be pills in juice. It would be a traffic accident staged on the mountain road he'd mentioned for a picnic. Next weekend, a detail he'd casually dropped during dinner 3 days ago. John takes photos of the dead plant and carefully collects a soil sample as evidence. Time is running out. He needs to move faster. He needs professional help from Marcus Johnson, his old college buddy turned private investigator. But before calling Marcus, John needs more proof of the actual danger. He needs to record a specific act. The chance comes that Friday. John is working late at the university office, as usual, finishing lectures and grading papers. He's in a corner of the 12th floor, the quietest part of the building. The stairwell area on this floor has no surveillance cameras, a detail Sarah had been strangely interested in before. Now, John finally understands why. At 10 p.m., John's phone rings. It's Sarah, her voice full of faint concern. Are you home yet? I'm so worried about you. Working this late is going to exhaust you. Not yet, babe. I have to finish this deadline. Probably be here until 11. Be careful. Don't overwork yourself. I love you. Her voice is unusually sweet, a way she hasn't spoken to him in months. 15 minutes later, John gets a text from her. The elevators are out. Take the stairs. But John had just used the elevator 5 minutes ago. Was this a stupid coincidence? Or the final invitation to the perfect accident she and Michael had calculated? John stops working. He kills the lights and moves his chair to a blind spot behind a filing cabinet, eyes fixed on the stairwell exit. His gut is screaming that something is wrong. At 10:35 p.m., the door to the 12th floor opens. But it isn't Sarit's stranger. A man in his 30s, dressed in black, a baseball cap obscuring his face. He walks quickly, looking around alertly, holding a small black plastic bag. John's heart hammers against his ribs. Sarah is smarter than he thought. She isn't getting her own hands dirty. She hired someone. With trembling hands, John pulls out his phone, sets it to silent video, and hides it behind his computer monitor. To keep it steady, angling the lens toward the stairs, the stranger approaches the stairwell. A small bottle of oil is uncapped. A dark liquid spreads across the first 3 steps, an invisible trap in the shadows. He pulls out a phone, his voice cold. It's done. Exactly where you pointed out. He'll be coming down in 20 minutes. Transfer the money. John catches it all. The man's face as he turns away. The clear voice. Every step of the action, all recorded in sharp, high-def. The stranger leaves through the stairwell on the other side of the building. 15 minutes later, while John is still sitting motionless in the dark, his phone vibrates. A text from Sarah. Hey, I'm on my way to pick you up. Remember to take the stairs down to the lobby. I just got a notification the elevators are broken. I'll wait for you at the entrance. It's all as clear as day. This isn't just a plot, it's organized crime, meticulously planned. Cyril knows exactly what floor he's on, knows he'll take the stairs if the elevator is broken, and knows there are no cameras there. She's hired a professional hitman. John doesn't move. He sits in silence, letting the video record for a few more minutes. Suddenly, footsteps echo from the end of the hall. John holds his breath, the camera still, aimed at the stairs. A dark figure approaches, not Sarah, but the building security guard, holding a flashlight. Is someone there? His voice booms through the dead silence. John's heart nearly stops. If he's caught, the whole plan shatters. He pulls his feet back, pressing his spine against the cold back of the filing cabinet. The flashlight beam sweeps just inches from his face, illuminating the oily sheen on the floor. Damn it. The guard stops, staring at the floor. He leans down, touches the oil, and sniffs it. John can hear his own breathing, fast, heavy, Loud. One more second and the guard will spot him. But then, the guard's phone rings. He grunts and pulls it out. Yeah, I'm checking the 12th floor. It looks like someone spilled oil here. I'll call janitorial. He turns away, the flashlight beam fading. John lets out a breath, his hands still shaking violently. But the camera caught every frame vivid proof of the conspiracy, and the moment he almost became a victim, he texts Sarah back. Just took the elevator down. Babe, seems to be working fine. I'm in the lobby. Where are you? Silence for 3 minutes, an eternity. Then Sarah replies, oh, ... I must have misread the notice. Good. I'm in the back parking lot. Head out there. Stay warm. John takes the elevator, for real. As he passes the ground floor stairwell, he sees the security guard patrolling. The guard steps up, nearly slipping on the first stair. What the hell? The guard touches the floor, smelling the oil. Clue pours oil on the stairs. He immediately radios security and maintenance. John takes a deep breath and heads to the parking lot. He just cheated death again. If he'd trusted Sarah's text and taken the stairs ... in the car, Sarah hugs him tight. I was so worried. Working this late must be killing you. Her eyes are full of affection, but John can feel the underlying tension. I'm fine, honey. Just a little tired. The next morning, John checks the 12th floor stairs. The oil has been scrubbed. Cliffy copies the video to an encrypted external drive and a secure cloud backup. He has enough. This is irrefutable legal evidence of premeditated murder. It's time for professional help. He calls Marcus. Marcus picks up immediately. John, what's up, man? Coming down to Portland soon. We need two. I need your professional help. John interrupts. And I need this to stay strictly confidential. Marcus's tone shifts instantly. Of course, what's going on? John takes a breath. 3 days ago, I flew to NYC to surprise Sarah. I stood outside her hotel room and heard her in there with Michael Lang, her boss. Damn, Marcus exhales. That was just the start. John continues, his voice steady but strained. I found love notes from Michael in her desk, dated 4 months ago. I ran the credit card data. They'd been doing this for at least 8 months. But then I found something else. Sarah hiked my life insurance from $100,000 to $500,000 6 weeks ago. I'm the sole beneficiary. Then, the accident started. First, my laptop got trashed while I was analyzing her messages. Second, Sarah made me dinner and I found poison in the juice. It killed a potted plant in 12 hours. And third, last night, I got video of a hitman pouring oil on the stairs right before Sarah texted me to take that exact route because the elevators were broken. The silence on the other end is so long, John has to check the screen. Marcus, you there? I'm here. Marcus's voice is cold as ice. John, you're telling me your wife isn't just cheating, she's plotting to murder you. Yeah, John says. For $500,000 in insurance. To be with Michael without a messy divorce. My God, John. Marcus lets out a long breath. Send me everything. The notes, the plant photos with the metadata, the stairwell video, the credit card logs, everything. If this is a felony, we need to preserve the chain of custody for the evidence right now. I'll send everything right away, John said. But Marcus, I need more. I need the dirt on Michael Lang's background. Company policy, if he's pulled this before. I need the full picture. And I need everything to be legally airtight to protect myself. Can you do that? Absolutely, Marcus replied without hesitation. I'll start digging into Lang tonight. But John, are you sure about this path? Once you have proof of attempted murder, this isn't a civil divorce anymore. This is criminal. The cops will get involved. Sarah could face serious prison time. I know, John said. I can't let her walk away like nothing happened. And if Michael has done this before, I need to find the other victims. Copy that, Marcus agreed. Give me about a week to dig deep. I'll look for patterns, criminal records, the works. But John, you have to be damn careful. Don't let Sarah suspect a thing. Don't eat or drink anything she prepares. Avoid any risky situations. I know, I'm playing the perfect, oblivious husband. Good. And John, Marcus's voice softened. I'm really sorry, brother. You don't deserve this. No one does. After hanging up, John sat in the living room, letting the full weight of it all crush him. His marriage was dead. John cried then, for the first time since New York. He cried for the life and the trust that was shattered, crying until there were no tears left, only a hollow exhaustion. Then, he wiped his eyes. Sarah and Michael had made one massive mistake. They underestimated him. They saw a nice software engineer, someone easy to fool, easy to delete. What they didn't realize was that John spent his days teaching young coders about analyzing source code meticulously and tracking every change to defeat impulsive reactions. John Harlan was about to apply those lessons to his own life. Saturday morning, Sarah's flight touched down at 3:15 p.m. John picked her up at the airport. She looked beautiful and professional. But John noticed a weariness she couldn't quite hide under her makeup. She went to kiss him, and John tasted betrayal on her lips. "God, it's so good to be home. I missed you so much." "Missed you too," John said, taking her suitcase and sliding it into the trunk of his Honda Civic. "How was the flight?" "Exhausting. Hit some turbulence over the Gulf, and I sat next to a guy who wouldn't stop talking about crypto." She slid into the passenger seat and immediately checked her phone. In the car, Sarah talked animatedly about the conference, the keynote speakers, and the closing night dinner. She had her stories ready, detailed and rehearsed. "She's a master liar," he realized. "Oh, and I have amazing news," Sarah said as they merged onto I-5. "Michael told me on the flight back that he thinks I'm ready for the senior director position, opening up in Q1. That would mean a base salary bump to around $125,000, plus better bonuses." She talked about moving to a bigger house with a real backyard, maybe even getting serious about starting a family. "That's incredible," John said, keeping his tone neutral. "Michael really supports your career. He really does," Sarah agreed, smiling. "He's been a great mentor. I feel so lucky to have him as a boss." John's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "Yeah, you're real lucky." They got home. John went to the kitchen and opened a bottle of the Pinot Noir Sarah loved. Pouring 2 glasses, his hand stayed steady, despite the storm raging inside. That evening, they ate dinner like a normal couple. They drank the wine John had bought. They sat on the sofa and watched a cooking show Sarah liked. She fell asleep with her head on his shoulder, and John sat there for an hour, barely breathing, his arm around a woman who is now essentially a stranger to him. Sunday, Sarah spent most of the day in her home office, checking emails. John went for a long run around the neighborhood, needing to think, needing to process. By the time he got back, drenched in sweat and spent, he'd made some decisions on how to proceed. A text from Marcus was waiting for him. "Initial findings are interesting. There's more here than just an affair. Can we talk Monday night? I'll have a preliminary report ready." John deleted the message instantly. He had to keep playing the role of the devoted husband while building his war chest in the dark. That night, as John was encrypting the final evidence files, his phone buzzed Sarah. His heart hammered against his ribs. He let it ring 3 times, before picking up, forcing his voice into a neutral gear. "Hey, what's up? I'm in the middle of debugging some code. Oh, nothing." Sarah's voice carried a faint edge of suspicion. "I just... I had a dream about you. A weird one. You okay?" "I'm fine. Just tired." After hanging up, John exhaled, a long, shaky breath. But he didn't see the screen in Michael's apartment, where Sarah was typing. "Construction site plan. Move. It up to tomorrow night. Something's off with John. Can you handle it?" Sunday night, they prepped dinner together, roasted chicken and salad. John watched her carefully. She seemed relaxed, almost happy, humming while she chopped vegetables and sharing a meme she'd found. John realized then, she felt zero guilt. She could spend 3 days in bed with her boss, come home, and slide perfectly back into the loving wife persona without missing a beat. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. They went to bed at 10:30, and Sarah curled up against him like she always did. "I love you," she murmured sleepily. "I'm grateful for us. We have something solid. Me too," John whispered into the shadows. He lay awake long after her breathing turned deep and rhythmic. Those vows they'd traded, they only existed for him now. Maybe Michael gave her something John couldn't. Wealth, power, status, or just the cheap thrill of the hunt. Lying there in the dark, he wondered which hurt more, that she'd never loved him or that she had, but decided he wasn't worth the price of being faithful. Either way, the marriage was a corpse. The only question now was how it would end and what kind of hell Sarah and Michael would have to pay. By Monday morning, John's emotions were under a titanium lock. He watched her get ready for work, humming as she did her makeup, checking her phone every few minutes with a smirk. Probably texting Michael, John thought. mapping out their next move. "Big day?" he asked, keeping his tone light. "Just the usual chaos," Sarah replied. "Michael wants a debrief on NYC... I'll probably be home late." "Sorry, no worries," John said. "I've got a mountain of code to push through anyway." Sarah kissed him goodbye. Quick, distracted brush of lip sand headed out. Through the kitchen window, John watched her Audi A4 roll out of the driveway. The second she was gone, he pulled out his phone and opened a new file. He titled it Evidence Log and began methodically recording every lie, every suspicious charge, every detail from New York. He was building a case. He wanted Sarah and Michael to understand that betrayal doesn't happen in a vacuum. Actions have consequences, and hers were about to be devastating. Work felt surreal. John led a coding workshop on risk assessment and version control. When a student asked why they needed to track every tiny change in the source code so meticulously, John thought of Sarah and Michael and answered slowly, "The timeline always shows you exactly where the system broke. Without tracking, there's no accountability. And consequences are the only thing that force us to face our own bugs." At 4:30 p.m., John drove to a Starbucks downtown. Marcus was already there in a corner with a laptop, a manila envelope, and 2 coffees. "Got you a dark roast," Marcus said as John slid into the seat. They shook hands. "I'm still standing," John said. "Tell me what you found." Marcus opened the laptop. Michael Lang, 42, married 15 years to Laura, a nurse. They have 2 kids, Ethan, 13, and Olivia, 10. Both in elite private schools. Tuition is about $35,000 a head per kid. He opened a perfect family photo in front of a Christmas tree. Michael has a base salary of $180,000, plus an annual bonus of $40,000 to $60,000. He lives in an $850,000 house. Long story short, he's an upper-middle-class executive with a lifestyle he's desperate to maintain, so he's successful. But not tourists to touch wealthy, John noted. "Exactly," Marcus agreed. "And here's the kicker. This isn't Michael's first rodeo. I found evidence of at least 2 other women at Apex Corp who had flings with him, both of whom ended up leaving the company." John leaned forward. "The first one, Sophia Chun, a marketing coordinator, suddenly quit in 2021 with a non-disagreement NDA. The second, Alina Rodriguez, a senior account manager, was also in line for that director spot, but was shuffled off to the Austin office after signing an NDA earlier this year. Both were his direct reports, both were promised promotions, and both were silenced." John felt his jaw tightened. "So the company knows Michael's a predator, but they're shielding him." "That's about it," Marcus confirmed. "He's a top revenue generator for Apex. The company decided it's cheaper to pay off victims than to fire him and lose big contracts. To keep quiet to protect the bottom line." Marcus pushed the manila envelope across the table. "Everything I found is in here. Dates, documents, and the proof on Sarah. Hotel receipts show Michael and Sarah shared a room or had adjoining suites on at least 7 trips over the past 8 months, all booked on Sarah's corporate card." John opened the envelope. He flipped through printed emails between Michael and Sarah, intimate in a way no boss and subordinate should ever be. "Looking forward to New York. Last time was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. Dinner tonight." He saw a phone log showing hundreds of late-night calls and texts, along with a timeline of Sarah's rapid-fire promotions since she started reporting to Michael. Michael Lang wasn't just a cheater. He was a systematic predator protected by a corporation, and Sarah was his latest victim, or perhaps a willing accomplice ready to go further than any of her predecessors. "Here's another interesting bit," Marcus said, pulling up another document. "That senior director position Sarah mentioned. It was supposed to go to Alina Rodriguez. She was more experienced, had better performance reviews, but Michael wanted Alina out so Sarah could be bumped up. So Alina was given the opportunity to move to Austin, and suddenly the path was clear for Sarah. My God," John muttered. "So Sarah's entire career climb is literally tied to sleeping with her boss." "Looks that way," Marcus said quietly. "Which means if this goes public, Sarah's professional reputation is nuked. That's a career killer in most industries." John leaned back, processing. This wasn't just a case of his wife cheating. This was a pattern of sexual exploitation facilitated by corporate complicity. Michael had done this before, and he'd do it again. Apex Corp had built an environment where powerful men could prey on ambitious women. Then, by their silence with NDAs and severance, John looked back at the envelope of evidence. It was dense, detailed, but still not enough for an airtight case. He needed more, something from Michael's own hand that couldn't be brushed off as a misunderstanding or a fabrication. "Marcus, I need to make sure all this digital evidence is legally bulletproof," John said. "Their lawyers would claim the emails and texts were faked, and I need them authenticated to forensic standards." Marcus nodded. "You're right. You're a software engineer. You know how to do that better than I do. And I think we need some physical evidence, too. Something from Michael himself, handwritten, undeniable." "I'll handle the tech side," John said. "As for the physical proof, maybe Laura Lang can help us out." They wrapped up the meeting with a clear plan. John would authenticate the digital trail, Marcus would keep digging, and they'd coordinate with Laura. 3 days later, John called Marcus, his voice buzzing with restrained excitement. "I've finished the authentication. Every email, text, and screenshot is digitally tagged with full metadata. If their lawyers try to call it a forgery, I've got forensic proof for every byte of data." "Awesome," Marcus said. "And I've got good news too. Laura just called. She found something big." That afternoon, John drove to Laura Lang's house. She opened the door looking both anxious and determined, clutching a brown leather journal. "Michael has a habit of journaling," Laura explained as they sat in the living room. "Handwritten in this book. I just finished reading it, John. There are some horrific things in here." John took the journal, his hands trembling slightly. Michael's neat, distinctive hand, writing impossible to fake. He flipped to the most recent pages. The May 15th entry was crystal clear. Sarah agreed to the cabin plan. Perfect location, Cascade Mountain Road. No witnesses. Need to establish a solid alibi. The May 22nd entry was even worse. Booked the cabin under the alias Robert Miller. Contacted the guy at the garage. They'll inspect and sabotage John's brakes before the trip. Sarah will suggest a family picnic on a winding mountain route. The accident will look completely natural. As John finished reading, an icy chill washed over him from head to toe. This wasn't just a hunch or a suspicion anymore. This was a full-blown confession, written in the mastermind's own hand. "Can I keep this?" John asked. "Not just keep it," Laura said, her voice hard with resolve. "I'll testify in court that this is Michael's handwriting and that I found it in his private safe. No lawyer can talk their way out of this." John snapped photos of the critical pages before carefully sealing the journal in a Ziploc bag. But John wanted one more thing: visuals. Something the public could see and believe instantly, without needing complex explanations about metadata or handwriting analysis. The final window opened that Saturday. Marcus called with a tip. "Sarah and Michael are dining at Canlis tonight, top tier place on Queen Anne Hill. This might be our last shot at undeniable visuals."
John decided to deploy his DJI Mini 4 drone. That night, parked 200 yards from the restaurant, John sat in his car and sent the drone up. The 4K camera zoomed into a second-floor window at Canlis, exactly where Marcus said they'd be. Through the controller's screen, John watched Sarah and Michael sitting in a dark corner, hands intertwined on the table. Michael pulled a small white envelope from his pocket and slid it across. Sarah opened it. Inside was a set of keys. She held them up, admiring them under the candlelight, her face lighting up with a radiant smile. The drone caught it all in crisp 4K. Michael leaning across the table, kissing Sarah passionately. Sarah clutching the envelope of keys to her chest. They clinked champagne glasses, a high-stakes toast to a dark victory. John brought the drone down, saved the footage, and sent it to Marcus. There was no audio, but there didn't need to be. The images said everything. Combined with the journal entry about the cabin keys, the pieces fit perfectly. Sunday night, John met with his lawyer Rebecca and Marcus at the office. In an atmosphere thick with tension and resolve, John laid his cards on the table. The forensic digital files, the handwritten murder plot journal, the 4K drone footage of the key exchange, the photos of the dead plant, and the recording of the oil staircase hit. Rebecca examined it all, nodding slowly. After 15 minutes of silence, punctuated only by the sound of flipping pages, she looked up. "It's enough. We have airtight grounds for a civil suit for attempted murder, adultery, and corporate fraud, plus criminal charges. But John, you need to decide. Do you want this quiet or public?" John thought about room 3102, the plant that died in 12 hours, the oil-slicked stairs in the dark, the cabin in the Cascades, where they planned to turn his life into a perfect accident. I need to hear the options first, John said. Marcus laid them out. Option 1, a straightforward private divorce. John would get a massive settlement and a clean break. Feels like she's getting off too easy, John said flatly. Option 2, the nuclear bomb, exposing them to the police, the company, and the public. It's messy, loud, and emotionally draining, Marcus warned. Then Marcus smiled and pitched calf. Option 3, the strategic, patient, total shutdown approach. John had information that was valuable to many parties. Laura deserved a win in her divorce, Apex Corp needed to see their legal exposure, and past victims needed justice. You can orchestrate a scenario, Marcus continued, where the consequences for Michael and Sarah are total and irreversible. You don't fight them alone. You let the system, the law, the media, the company, close in all at once. There will be no escape. John thought about his coding lessons. Success comes from superior data, clever architecture, and a coordinated strike at the right moment. This wasn't just revenge. This was systemic justice. I want option 3, John said, his voice calm but absolute. Marcus nodded. Rebecca smiled for the first time. I thought you might. Okay, let's call this Operation Cascade. Everything has to hit within 48 hours so they can't react. Rebecca explained the strategy. Phase 1 was preparation, 7 days. John would maintain his clueless husband facade while they tracked down the former victims and drafted the filings. Then came activation on day D, focusing the first strike on Michael. Laura would file for divorce using the journal as evidence, while an anonymous email would be sent to the CEO of Apex Corp, detailing the sexual predation and the murder plot. The company would be forced to act. Finally, the takedown would hit 24 hours after day D, once Michael was fully neutralized. John would file for divorce and dump the entire evidence mountain onto Sarah's lawyer and the Seattle PD. It's a three-pronged pincer move, Rebecca concluded. We dismantle Michael first to strip away his protection, then we move on Sarah. Michael is the mastermind, but he's also the company's biggest liability. Sarah will crumble the second she doesn't have him to hide behind. John nodded, feeling a strange, cold peace for the first time. Do it, he said. They spent the next hour mapping out the grid. Marcus would keep digging and discreetly reach out to Elena Rodriguez and the other women. The goal? Let them know they weren't alone. Give them a chance to burn Michael and Apex to the ground without violating their NDAs, since courts usually rule that an NDA is void if the company breached it first by continuing the same predatory behavior. John would consult a high-stakes divorce attorney to finalize his paperwork, but they wouldn't file yet. He had to keep playing the oblivious husband while they built the gallows. There's one more thing you need to do, Marcus said, his voice turning grim. Get an STI test. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but if Sarah's been sleeping with Michael for months and then coming home to you, John's stomach did a slow roll. He hadn't even let himself go there, another violation, another betrayal, the risk of disease exposure without his knowledge or consent. Right? I'll do it today. And John, Marcus's eyes were full of empathy. It's going to get a lot uglier before it gets better. Once you hit that launch button, there's no going back. Are you 100% sure this is what you want? I'm sure, John said. Michael has been doing this for years, and the company is bankrolling him. How many more women become victims if nobody stops him? How many more marriages does he get to wreck? They shook hands and parted ways. John tucked the manila envelope securely into his messenger bag and drove to an urgent care clinic on the way home. The testing was quick but humiliating. Sitting in a sterile room, answering questions about sexual activity and potential exposure, he felt a burning sense of shame that wasn't even his to carry. The nurse was a pro, kind and clinical. Results in about a week, she said. Try not to spiral. Most things are treatable these days. John thanked her and left, feeling hollow. This was the true face of betrayal. It wasn't just the broken heart stuff you see in movies. It was the medical tests, the legal bills, the constant state of high alert lying. Sarah got home at 8:45 p.m., later than she'd claimed. She was carrying a bag of Thai takeout. Peace offering, she said. I thought we could just have a quiet dinner, just the two of us. That's thoughtful, John said, taking the bag. How was your day? Stressing, Sarah said, pouring herself a massive glass of wine. Michael and I spent 2 hours with a new client. I think we nailed it. We're looking at a $2.3 million annual contract. My bonus alone would be close to 15 grand. That's amazing, John said, watching her face glow with the win. You've been grinding for this. I have, Sarah agreed. Michael keeps telling me I've got partner potential. Not many women hit that level at Apex. I could be one of the first. John thought about Elena Rodriguez, Sophia Chen, all the women whose careers were derailed by Michael's manipulation. Michael seems very personally invested in your success, John said. He really is, Sarah said, completely missing the subtext. He told me today I remind him of his younger self. Hungry, ambitious, willing to do whatever it takes to win. I bet he did, John muttered. They ate at the kitchen table. Sarah prattled on about marketing strategies and client personas, safe topics. John listened, asked the right questions, played his part perfectly. Later, as they were getting ready for bed, Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smirked before typing a quick reply. Everything okay? John asked from the bathroom, toothbrush in hand. Just Michael asking about tomorrow's presentation, Sarah called back. He's such a workaholic. I keep telling him he needs a better work-life balance. The irony was lost on her. Tuesday, John used a gap in his teaching schedule to meet with Rebecca Sullivan, a heavy-hitter divorce lawyer. Her office was in an elegant building in Capitol Hill. Rebecca, in her mid-50s, listened to John's story without interruption. You have an exceptionally strong case, she said when he finished. The documentation your investigator friend gathered is excellent. She explained that although Washington is a community property state, infidelity combined with a murder plot could significantly impact asset division and spousal support. With the income disparity, her making nearly double your salary, and her fault in the breakdown of the marriage, I estimate you could retain the full equity of your home, potentially receive temporary rehabilitative alimony for a year or two, and she would likely be responsible for the majority of legal fees. What's the timeline? John asked. If she doesn't contest it, which she might not, given the evidence, we could have a settlement in 4 to 6 months. Washington requires a 90-day waiting period after filing, then it's just a matter of negotiating terms. If she fights, it's a year or more. But frankly, most cheaters want a quick, quiet exit to avoid public humiliation. Rebecca leaned forward, but I get the sense you want more than just a smooth divorce. What else are you thinking? John explained Michael's pattern at Apex Corp and the other women silenced by NDAs. If I'm going to blow up my life anyway, shouldn't there be a greater justice? Shouldn't Michael face real consequences? Rebecca leaned back, knitting her fingers thoughtfully. Legally, you are on solid ground sharing this with Michael's wife. It isn't defamation or libel if it's the truth. As for the company, if you can prove they knowingly tolerated sexual harassment, there might be grounds for a class action suit from the other victims. But John urged, sensing her hesitation. But that path is expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining, Rebecca said honestly. Employment litigation can take years. It's unpredictable. Corporations have deep pockets for legal defense. What would you do? John asked. Rebecca offered a small smile. I'd ask myself what I really want. Do you want revenge, to make them suffer the way you are? Or do you want justice, to stop this from happening to others? Both are understandable, but only one will help you move on with your life afterward. John considered that carefully. What if I can have both? Then you need a very carefully coordinated plan, perfect timing, and probably a bit of luck, Rebecca said. It's vital that you are absolutely certain because once you pull the trigger, there is no going back. Lives will be ruined. Not just Michael's and Sarah's, but potentially yours too. You'll be at the center of a very public scandal. I'm certain, John said. They spent the next hour outlining a strategy. Rebecca would prepare the divorce papers, but hold them until John was ready. She would also discreetly reach out to the women who left Apex, especially Elena Rodriguez, to gauge their interest in breaking their NDAs if there were legal grounds. One more thing, Rebecca said as the meeting ended. Think carefully about your wife. I know she's hurt you terribly, but this situation is complex. Michael is her boss. There is an inherent power imbalance. I'm not excusing her choices, but she may also be a victim of workplace sexual harassment. even if she doesn't see it that way. John nodded, though privately, he wasn't sure he agreed. Rebecca's words stuck with him as he drove home. Did he want Sarah to suffer? Or did he want his pain to mean something, that some good could come from this destruction? Wednesday evening, John was grading papers in the living room when his phone buzzed with an email from Marcus. The subject line read, "Urgent. Michael and Sarah's plot." The email contained screenshots of messages between them from earlier that day. Marcus had managed to gain access to their communications through digital forensics. John read them, his heart turning to stone. The messages opened with a warning from Michael. Laura asked about NYC. She's getting suspicious. Sarah asked what he told her. Michael reassured her. The conference story. Meetings, dinners. She doesn't buy it 100%. We need to be more careful. Sarah expressed anxiety, suggesting they should stop for a while. This is getting complicated. But Michael quickly shut that down, reminding her of the big picture. Only a few more months until your promotion is locked in and the raise kicks in. He made a vow. I promise, Sarah. This time next year, we'll truly be together. We'll both file at the same time. Say we're moving on from dead marriages. Sarah still showed a flicker of hesitation. I hope you're serious, because I can't keep lying to John forever. He's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. At this, Michael pivoted to his most ruthless strategy. Better to wait until after the promotion is locked in. Once you've moved some funds around, you'll have a lot more leverage. He even offered a chilling compliment. Smart. That's my girl. You're thinking strategically, Sarah. The conversation ended with Sarah asking when she should tell John she'd be home, and Michael coldly arranging the logistics. Late. I've booked us a room at the Fairmont. Room 1802. I'll be there at 7. Wear that black dress I like. John read the messages 3 times. Each pass made him feel colder, more detached. Sarah wasn't just having an affair. She was actively plotting his financial ruin. She was going to siphoning off money, hide assets, and wait until she had maximum leverage to divorce him on her terms, leaving him with as little as possible. And Michael was pulling the strings, coaching Sarah on how to strategically dismantle her marriage so he could maintain their illicit connection without consequence. The cold fury John had been nursing crystallized into a diamond-hard resolve. This was calculated, premeditated betrayal. They were actively conspiring against him, believing him to be too naive and trusting to ever find out. John forwarded the screenshots to Rebecca Sullivan with a simple message. The timeline needs to move up. How soon can we strike? Her response came within 20 minutes. I've made calls. Elena Rodriguez is willing to talk. She's furious about being pushed out for Sarah. She has her own logs and emails. I can have her file an EEOC complaint by the weekend, which will create the opening we need. Is Monday possible? John typed back. Monday works, let's do it. Monday morning, Rebecca called. John, I've reached out to Emily Parker, the former Apex employee Michael fired in 2021 after she refused a special relationship with him. She signed an NDA but is desperate for justice. Knowing there's new evidence of his pattern, she's willing to break her confidentiality agreement and counter-sue. Excellent, John said. The more voices we have, the harder it will be for Apex to cover it up. One more thing, Rebecca continued. I've contacted Matthew Carter, a tech blogger with 500,000 followers who specializes in exposing corporate scandals. He's very interested. If we provide the full evidence, he's ready to run the story for free. John waited. Going public meant there was no turning back, but it also meant Sarah and Michael couldn't use their money and power to buy everyone's silence. Do it, John decided. But we need the perfect moment. Marcus chimed in. Apex Corp has their annual gala awards next Friday, where they recognize top performers. Sarah is nominated for Employee of the Year and will likely win because Michael is rigging the vote. The entire board and all major partners will be there. John smiled for the first time in days. Then we'll turn her night of glory into her night of ruin. They want to celebrate? We'll give them a party they'll never forget. John deleted the email chain, cleared his browser history, and went back to work as if nothing had happened. An hour later, Sarah texted, working super late. Huge project. Don't wait up. Love you. John knew exactly where she was. Room 1802 at the Fairmont. Probably wearing the black dress Michael liked. probably drinking champagne on the company dime while she plotted John's financial destruction. He texted back, "No problem. Love you too." Then, he poured himself a glass of bourbon and sat on the back porch in the cool November evening. He thought about the last 6 years, their vineyard wedding, the days they were broke but happy, the day they bought this house and dreamed of filling it with children. Was any of it real? Or had John been living in a fantasy while Sarah played a part, waiting for something better to come along? He'd probably never know. What mattered now was protecting himself, stopping Michael from hurting anyone else, and ensuring that actions had consequences. Thursday and Friday passed in a blur of careful normalcy. John went to work, taught his classes, and finished his projects. He came home, cooked dinner, and watched TV with Sarah when she wasn't working late. He played the devoted husband perfectly, never letting the mask slip, never giving any sign that he knew the truth. On Friday, Sarah suddenly suggested going out for dinner. They sat in a cozy Italian restaurant at Pike Place Market, discussing Thanksgiving plans. She wanted it to be just the two of them, a quiet getaway to make up for the busy season. "Sounds perfect," John said, his mind cold as ice as he imagined that by the time that holiday arrived, their marriage would be nothing but ashes and legal filings. "John," Sarah suddenly said, her hand reaching across the table to squeeze his. "I know I've been too distracted lately. I'm sorry. Thank you for always being so patient." The intimate gesture now felt like a parlor trick, the apology like a rehearsed script. John looked at her hand, still wearing her wedding ring. "It's okay. I know how hard you've been working. Everything will settle down after the holidays," Sarah promised, "and then we can really focus on us. Maybe plan that vacation we talked about, somewhere tropical, just you and me, reconnecting." "I'd like that," John lied. They finished dinner and Sarah insisted on taking a selfie. She posted it to Instagram with the caption, "Date night with my favorite person. I'm so lucky." John forced a smile for the camera. Saturday, John received a text from Rebecca. "Elena Rodriguez will file the EEOC complaint Monday morning. She's also willing to speak with a reporter I've contacted, Krista Vance of the Seattle Business Journal. Everything is in place. Are you ready?" John looked at Sarah, who was in her home office on a weekend work call. Her intimate tone, her soft laughter, the name Michael repeated over and over. He texted back, "I'm ready. Monday morning, 9 a.m., file everything." The dominoes were set. In just over 48 hours, Michael Lang and Sarah Wan would discover that underestimating people is the most dangerous mistake they could ever make. John deleted the message, put his phone away, and went out to the yard where Sarah was raking leaves. "Need a hand?" he asked. Sarah smiled up at him, looking young and carefree. "Always. Want to hold the bag while I rake?" They spent an hour working together in a companionable silence. Everything felt aggressively, mockingly normal. By this time tomorrow, John thought, everything would change. He was ready. Monday morning in early December was unexpectedly warm. John woke at 5:30 a.m., an hour before his alarm. Adrenaline surged through him like a live wire. This was the day. Sarah was still fast asleep beside him. John looked at her and felt only a cold emptiness. No anger, no love, not even sadness anymore. Just a steel-sharp conviction. What he was about to do was necessary and just. He slipped quietly out of bed and went down to the kitchen in the silent darkness of the house. Black coffee in hand, he stood by the window, watching the sky turn from night to a deep, explosive blue. Opening his laptop, his finger hovered over the enter key. The evidence was ready to ruin 3 lives. A momentary flicker of weakness hit him. If he stopped now, he'd still have a family, even a false one. But then he pictured the spectral oil slick on his stairs. He took a deep breath. He didn't just press enter, he struck it. The click of the mechanical keyboard sounded like a parting shot to his past. At exactly 6:35 a.m. his phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Elena Rodriguez confirmed. The EEOC complaint will be filed at 9 a.m. The evidence is strong enough to shred the NDAs and force Apex to open an investigation." Minutes later at 7:09 a.m., Marcus reported, "Laura Lang responded to your email. She wants to meet today. I gave her your number. She sounds devastated but determined." Michael's wife's resolve was a crucial pillar of John's plan. At 7:25 a.m., Rebecca texted again. The divorce papers were ready and would be served to Sarah at her office around 10 a.m., aimed at maximum professional humiliation. Furthermore, she had sent the full evidence packet, including Michael's history of harassment, hotel receipts, and private messages, to the board of directors, general counsel, and the head of HR at Apex Corp. She ensured they would receive it by 9 a.m., leaving them no choice but to act. At 7:33 a.m., Marcus confirmed the news was about to break. Krista Vance from the Seattle Business Journal has the whole story and will post a preliminary article online at noon, with a detailed print edition on Thursday. John took a deep breath and sent confirmations to both. The machine was in motion. He felt strangely calm, like a general who had planned the perfect battle and was watching the strategy unfold exactly as designed. Sarah came downstairs at 7:40 a.m., already in her power suit. She poured coffee, checked her phone, and frowned. "Everything okay?" John asked, his tone perfectly ordinary. "A weird email from Elena Rodriguez," Sarah said, scrolling. "Something about filing a hostile work environment complaint." Michael forwarded it to the whole leadership team, asking if anyone knew anything. Sarah shook her head dismissively, her voice dripping with contempt. Elena was always a troublemaker. She couldn't handle the pressure, and now she's trying to blame everyone else for her failure. It's pathetic. John said nothing. In just a few hours, Sarah would understand exactly why Elena Rodriguez was a troublemaker. Sarah kissed him goodbye, a hurried and distracted brush of lips, and headed for the door. "I might be late tonight. Michael wants to do damage control on this Elena thing, and we have a client meeting." "I love you too," John said to her, retreating back. The moment her car rolled out of the driveway, John executed phase 1 of his plan. He sent the first email from an anonymous account to Laura Lang, Michael's wife. "Dear Mrs. Lang, my name is John Smith. Your husband, Michael, has been having an affair with my wife, Sarah Smith, for about 8 months, John wrote. "I am sharing this because I believe you deserve the truth, and I have attached full documentation including hotel receipts, phone records, and messages promising a divorce." The second email, sent from Rebecca's law office to the CEO of Apex Corp, did not just notify them of Sarah and Michael's relationship. It made direct allegations regarding Michael Lang's systematic pattern of sexual harassment, highlighting the company's complicity over the last 7 years. Simultaneously, he sent a third email to 3 reputable journalists, promising an explosive story about abuse of power, misappropriation of company funds, and a corporate cover-up. Having finished all that, John went to his firm and began his first coding workshop. He discussed the importance of transparency in source code and how systems must confront errors directly rather than attempting to bury them. He spoke about the necessity of personal accountability, emphasizing that a single flaw in programming logic could collapse an entire structure. The core of strategic resistance, John told his class, is that it requires patience and a carefully coded plan. Sometimes, the most effective revolution is the one that looks calm on the surface, but is actually a carefully orchestrated chaos underneath. His students had no idea that their instructor was currently deploying the most complex system upgrade of his life. At 9:15 a.m. during his planning hour, John's phone rang. It was Laura Lang. He stepped quickly into a deserted hallway to take the call. "This is John." "Mr. Smith," the woman's voice was strained. "I received your email. I need to know this is real. I need to know you aren't some sick person making things up to hurt my family." "I'm sorry, Mrs. Lang, but it is the truth," John said softly. "I wouldn't have contacted you if I wasn't absolutely certain. I have messages of Michael promising to leave you, where he instructs my wife on how to hide assets before divorcing me. I understand this is devastating, but you deserve to know the truth." John heard Laura take a shaky breath. "How long?" "Based on the documentation I gathered, at least 8 months, possibly longer." 8 months, she repeated, her voice breaking. "We've been married for 15 years. We have 2 children. I trusted him. I never suspected." Her voice cracked completely. John's heart ached for her. Laura was an innocent victim in all of this, just like him. "I know. I trusted my wife too. I'm not doing this for revenge, Mrs. Lang. I'm doing this because the truth matters, and because your husband and my wife need to face the consequences of what they've done." "What now?" Laura asked, regaining a sliver of composure. "That is entirely up to you," John said. "But if you're willing, I'd like to coordinate our responses. We can support each other through this." There is also a pattern here. Michael has done this before with other women in the company. The firm covered it up. If we work together, we can ensure he is held accountable and can't do this to anyone else. There was a long silence. John could imagine Laura sitting somewhere, processing the fact that her entire marriage was a lie. Yes, she finally said, her voice hardening. Let's do it. Michael will pay for this. They will both pay for what they've done to us. John returned to the online seminar just as his phone began to vibrate incessantly. He muted it and began his second session on system optimization and digital security. During the talk, he emphasized that failure usually stems from logical vulnerabilities within the system and structural neglect of data, rather than any large-scale external cyber attack. At 10:30 a.m., during the next break, John was finally able to check his phone. The string of messages he received confirmed that the strategy was unfolding almost perfectly. Rebecca Sullivan had sent a photo time-stamped at 10:10 a.m. It was an image confirming the process server had successfully delivered the divorce papers to Sarah, right there at the Apex Corp office. Maximum humiliation, exactly as John had planned. At the same time, Marcus Johnson flooded his phone with dramatic updates. The Apex Board of Directors had been in an emergency session since 9:40 a.m., and the result was swift. Michael Lang was placed on immediate administrative leave pending investigation. Not only that, but Laura Lang had officially filed for divorce, with her lawyers demanding sole custody and a maximum asset split, while threatening to publicly expose every single one of Michael's illicit affairs if he dared to resist. Krista Vance's article in the Seattle Business Journal left nothing to the imagination. Tech marketing firm faces sexual harassment allegations, the headline screamed. The story named Michael Lang, detailed his position and salary, and included anonymous accounts from former employees describing a pattern of inappropriate relationships with subordinates that the company allegedly covered up. John stared at the screen, feeling a slight sense of vertigo. The dominoes had fallen. At 10:45 a.m., John's phone began to ring. Sarah. John let it ring. She called back instantly, then again and again, 8 times in 10 minutes. He listened to the voicemails during his lunch break. The first message, her voice was thick with fury. John, what the hell is going on? I just had divorce papers served to the office in front of everyone. The receptionist handed them to me while I was in a client meeting. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Call me back right now. The third message, her voice started to tremble. Okay, I'm starting to get really worried. Is this some kind of joke? Did someone hack your email and send those papers as a prank? Please call me and tell me what's happening. The fourth message. Panic began to crawl into her tone. Michael has been suspended. They're investigating him for something. HR pulled him into a meeting, and now he's not answering his phone. John, what did you do? Was it you? Oh my God, please call me. The fifth message, she was now completely terrified. I know you know. I don't know how you found out, but please call me. We need to talk about this. I can explain everything. It's not what you think. John, please. The sixth message, she was sobbing uncontrollably. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Whatever you think happened, I can explain. And if it was a mistake, it didn't mean anything. Please don't throw away 6 years of marriage over this. We can get through it. We can go to counseling. Please talk to me. John saved every message, more evidence. Then he called her back. She picked up on the first ring. Sarah, I know about Michael, he said calmly, cutting through whatever excuse she had prepared. I know about New York. I know all of it. Silence, then a small, hollow voice. How? I was there, Sarah. In New York. I decided to surprise you on your trip. I heard you and him through the hotel room door. Room 2102. Remember? He heard her breathing on the other end, rapid and panicked. John, it's more complicated. No, John interrupted. It's actually very simple. You've been cheating on me with your boss for at least 8 months. You lied to me every single day. You made me feel crazy for noticing you were distant. And you were planning to hide assets and blindside me with a divorce after your promotion. I read your messages with Michael. You went through my phone? Sarah's voice shifted from panic to defensive anger. A classic tactic John recognized. I hired a private investigator, John said. Everything I know is documented and legal. The divorce papers you received are just the beginning, Sarah. Michael's company is investigating him for a pattern of sexual harassment. His wife knows everything and is filing for divorce. And I've provided information to journalists about Apex's toxic culture of protecting powerful men while silencing their victims. You bastard, Sarah hissed. You're trying to ruin my career, everything I've worked for. I'm holding you accountable, John corrected, his voice remaining eerily calm. You and Michael made choices. You chose to lie, to cheat, to conspire against me. Those choices have consequences. You don't get to betray someone who loved and trusted you and walk away without facing the fallout. John, please, Sarah's voice broke. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. We can save our marriage. I promise I will. No, John said. We can't, because I don't love you anymore. Sarah, I don't even know who you are. The woman I married wouldn't do this. You are a stranger to me now. So that's it? Sarah said, her anger returning. After 6 years of marriage, you're just throwing it away. You won't even try. I'm not the one who threw it away, John said quietly. You did that the first time you slept with Michael. You did it every time you looked into my eyes and lied. You did it when you decided your professional ambition was more important than our wedding vows. This isn't me giving up, Sarah. This is me acknowledging what you've already destroyed. He hung up before she could respond. At 3 p.m., John met Rebecca Sullivan and reporter Krista Vance at a coffee shop in Fremont. Krista was an Asian-American woman in her early 40s with intelligent eyes and a reputation for thorough investigative work. This is a remarkable story, Krista said, reviewing the documents John and Rebecca had provided. Serial sexual harassment by a high-ranking executive, a corporate cover-up spanning years, multiple victims silenced through NDAs, misuse of company funds for personal affairs. Rebecca confirmed, we have several women willing to go on the record. Elena Rodriguez has already filed with the EEOC and is willing to be quoted by name. I am in contact with 2 other former Apex employees who are reconsidering their NDAs. Sophia Chen is particularly interested. Krista turned to John. I need to understand your motivation here. Are you doing this to hurt your wife and her boss? Or do you truly believe there is a larger issue that needs to be addressed? John met her gaze steadily. Both. I won't pretend I'm not angry about what they did to me. But Michael Lang has been harming women for years, and Apex Corp tolerated him because he brought in profit. If I don't speak up now, how many more women will he hurt? Yes, I want him and Sarah to face consequences, but I also want this pattern to stop. Fair answer, Krista said. Can I quote you on that? Yes, John said. Use my name. I'm not hiding. They talked for 90 minutes. Krista asked detailed questions about the timeline, the evidence, and the company's internal reactions. She was professional and meticulous. As the meeting ended, Krista shook hands with both of them. I'll need a few days to verify everything and reach out to Apex for an official comment. But assuming your evidence checks out, and it looks airtight, I'll have a comprehensive story ready for Thursday's print edition, with updates as the situation evolves. John left the meeting feeling both exhilarated and exhausted. He had set everything in motion. Now he just had to wait and watch it unfold. The rest of Monday was a blur of calls, texts, and updates. Laura Lang called to say she had consulted a divorce lawyer and was proceeding aggressively. She wanted full custody, the house, and maximum child and spousal support. Her lawyer had sent Michael a formal letter outlining the demands and making it clear that if he fought her, she would ensure everyone in their social circle knew exactly why their marriage ended. Marcus sent photos from the Apex Corp office. Apparently, Michael had been escorted out by security following his meeting with HR. The employees were abuzz with rumors. The company had sent out an internal memo about taking workplace concerns seriously and announced an independent investigation. Sarah sent 14 messages that John did not answer. They ranged from anger and apologies to begging. We need to talk. Please don't do this. Everyone at work knows now. I'm humiliated. My career is over because of you. I hope you're happy ruining everything. John read them all and responded with a single text. Have your lawyer contact mine. Do not come home. Tuesday morning, John woke up to an email from Michael Lang. Subject line, we need to talk man to man. The email was long, rambling, and desperate. Michael was attempting to reframe the narrative, downplaying his abuse of power. He claimed the relationship was consensual, glossed over the exploitation of his position, and tried to manipulate John into backing down to protect his family. He urged John to settle this privately like adults and suggested that Sarah simply be transferred to a different department. John read the email twice, his disgust mounting with every line. Michael was still trying to evade accountability. John deleted the email without replying. By Wednesday, the second article hit the web. More women step forward in Apex Corp harassment scandal. The piece now included testimonies from a total of 3 women, all describing an identical pattern: initial mentorship turning into inappropriate intimacy, promises of career advancement, and subsequent termination or forced transfers when they tried to end the involvement. The article also featured a statement from the CEO of Apex Corp. "We take these allegations extremely seriously and have initiated a comprehensive internal investigation. Mr. Lang has been suspended pending the results. We are committed to maintaining a safe and respectful work environment for all employees." By Wednesday afternoon, Apex's stock had dipped 4%. Industry blogs began picking up the story. The scandal was transcending Michael and Sarah. It was becoming a referendum on toxic workplace culture in the tech industry. Thursday morning brought the comprehensive print feature in the Seattle Business Journal, "Marketing Firms' Culture of Harassment Exposed." It was front-page news in the business section. The reporter had interviewed 8 former employees and obtained internal company documents showing that HR had received multiple complaints about Michael over the years, systematically protecting him through NDAs and quiet settlements. The article included a quote from John: "My wife's affair with her boss destroyed my marriage. But what I discovered during my investigation was bigger than my personal pain. This is a pattern of exploitation that the company enabled. I couldn't stay silent, knowing this would continue if no one spoke up." By Thursday evening, Apex Corp announced the immediate termination of Michael Lang for violations of company policy and professional standards. Their stock stabilized following the announcement. Laura Lang's divorce filing was now a matter of public record. Seattle's social media was abuzz, and the scandal was the talk of the town's elite circles. As for Sarah, she had been summoned to a marathon meeting with HR on Thursday morning. She wasn't fired, but her promotion to senior director was officially rescinded. She was transferred out of Michael's old group to a different department, effectively a demotion. Her career path at Apex was dead. Everyone in the company knew exactly how she had secured her previous advancement. Now, Friday afternoon, 2 weeks later, Rebecca Sullivan called with news of the settlement. "Sarah's lawyers called this morning," Rebecca said. "They want to settle quickly and quietly. They're offering you the full equity in the marital home, and they will cover all legal fees. She wants this over with minimum further publicity." "What's the catch?" John asked. "She wants you to sign an NDA regarding the affair." "No, I won't sign an NDA. Everything I know is either in the public record or has already been reported. I won't be silenced." "I told them you'd say that," Rebecca said. "The financial terms stand, but no NDA. They just want it to end." John countered with his final terms. He keeps the house entirely. She moves out and signs over her portion. He receives 2 years of spousal support at $2,500 per month. She covers all legal fees, and there is a clause stating that if she violates any terms or publicly defames him, she forfeits any remaining joint assets. And they accepted? She's desperate to move on, John. Her reputation is in tatters. Michael won't even take her calls anymore. Sarah is realizing she threw away her marriage for a man who is now pretending she doesn't exist. It's what she deserves. "But it's still sad," John said. "That's a healthy perspective," Rebecca said softly. They finalized the settlement terms. Sarah would move out by the end of the month. The divorce would be finalized by late January. John would keep the house, secure his financial stability, and be free to start his life over. 2 weeks later, on a frigid Saturday morning just 2 days before Christmas, John sat in his living room surrounded by half-filled boxes. Sarah was collecting the last of her belongings. The house was starting to look hollow, but every empty space brought a newfound sense of freedom. Sarah had asked to speak with him one last time before she left for good. She had been staying with a friend and was now moving to Boston, accepting a position at Apex's East Coast office, starting over where no one knew her story. She arrived at 10 a.m., looking thinner than John remembered, with dark circles under her eyes. She had cut her hair short. She looked older, tired, and broken. "Thank you for letting me stop by," she said softly. "That's not why I'm here." Sarah crossed her arms over her chest. "I want to say I'm sorry. Truly, sincerely sorry. Not sorry for getting caught. Sorry for what I did, for the lying, the cheating, the plan to ruin you financially, all of it." John said nothing, waiting. "I've been seeing a therapist," Sarah continued, "trying to figure out when I became the kind of person who could do what I did. I convinced myself it was somehow okay, because Michael made me feel special. I created a narrative where I was the protagonist and you were just collateral damage. It was wrong. It was cruel." Her eyes welled with tears. "The worst part is that you were right about Michael. He abandoned me the second things got complicated. All his promises were lies. He told his lawyers that I seduced him, that I was obsessed and wouldn't leave him alone. He's throwing me under the bus completely to save his own reputation with his wife." "I'm sorry," John said, and he truly meant it. "That's just another betrayal piled on top of everything else." "I don't deserve your sympathy," Sarah said, "but I want you to know that I understand now what I destroyed. Our marriage was real. It was good. And I threw it away for a fantasy, for ego validation, for ambition. I'll regret that for the rest of my life." They stood in silence for a moment. "I forgive you," John said finally. "Not because you deserve it, but because I don't want to carry this anger around anymore. But Sarah, we are not getting back together. That chapter of our lives is over. We both need to accept that and move on." "I know," she whispered. I wanted you to know I'm sorry, and I hope that one day you can look back on the good years. Because there were good years, without them being poisoned by how it ended." "Maybe one day," John said. "Right now, it still hurts too much." Sarah nodded. She took one last look around the living room. She left, and John watched through the window as she loaded the boxes into her car and drove away. He felt lighter, as if the weight he had been carrying was finally lifted. In the months that followed, John rebuilt his life, piece by piece. He kept the house but made it his own. He started dating again, joined a gym, and lost 20 pounds. He took up painting, discovering a natural knack for landscapes. Michael Lang's life shattered completely. His divorce from Laura was brutal and public. She won the house, primary custody, and a settlement that left Michael financially ruined. He lost his job at Apex and was blacklisted from the tech and pharma industries. The last John heard, Michael was working as a consultant for a fraction of his former salary, living in a modest apartment and seeing his children every 2 weeks under supervision. Apex Corp settled the class action lawsuit brought by Elena Rodriguez and 5 other women for a total of $4.2 million. The company also underwent a complete overhaul of its HR policies. The scandal was expensive, but it forced real change. Sarah stayed in Boston. She was slowly rebuilding her career, still in therapy, single, and focused on becoming a person she could respect. John wished her well from a distance. As for John himself, he had learned something profound through the pain of betrayal. He learned that you can survive a broken heart and shattered trust. He learned that revenge isn't about making others suffer, but about holding them accountable while maintaining your own integrity. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, John sat on his back porch on a warm spring evening, grading papers while sipping a glass of wine. The whirring fan of his old laptop reminded him of the man who once knew how to love with everything he had, the man he still wanted to keep alive inside him. Just then, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It was Laura Lang. The message, "Just wanted to say thank you. We did the right thing. I hope everything is going well for you." John smiled and typed back, "Thank you. I hope you're doing well too. We all deserve better than what happened." He set his phone down. A week later, an email from Marcus arrived. "John, Laura took the kids back to Montana. Ethan, 13, has been diagnosed with severe depression due to bullying at school. Olivia, 10, hasn't spoken to anyone in 3 months." John looked out at his backyard. The azaleas were in full bloom, a sign of a new spring, of a fresh start. But in his mind, he could only see the image of Ethan huddled in a corner of the schoolyard, the taunts of his peers echoing, "Your dad is a freak." and the boy's once smiling face as they played games together. Michael deserved it. Sarah deserved it. Justice had been served. But Ethan? Olivia? Two innocent souls crushed under the wheels of justice that he himself had set in motion. A part of John whispered, "It's the consequence. It's only natural." The other part, deeper down, screamed, "Children should never have to pay the price. And if you do nothing, you are just another gear in that crushing machine." In that moment, John realized the most brutal truth. Betrayal hadn't just killed his marriage. It was killing the compassionate part of him, transforming him from a software engineer into an engineer of calculated destruction. And the highest price wasn't the ruined careers or the tarnished reputations of his enemies. It was the shattered childhood of two children, a price he didn't know if he could bear. He typed, "Let me come." On the first afternoon, John said nothing. He knelt down, the wooden floorboards creaking under his weight. He placed a new game controller in Ethan's hand, but his eyes weren't on the toy. He looked straight at the boy, his voice low but clear. "I'm not here to replace your father. I'm here to make sure that from now on, you are the one who writes the rules of your own life, no one else." From then on, John became Uncle John. Gradually, Ethan laughed again. Olivia spoke again, and the way Laura looked at him began to change. 6 months later, Elena Rodriguez visited. She looked at them, shaking her head with a half smile. Her voice was sharp. "Stop wasting time. You've walked through hell together. What is stopping you?" Elena set her wine glass down. She looked at John, her voice dropping an octave. "I lost 4 years of my career because of Michael. Laura lost 15 years of marriage. You lost 6 years and your trust. Don't let fear steal the only thing left after all this, the chance to be happy." The room fell into silence. Laura looked down, her cheeks slightly flushed. John looked out the window, where the night's darkness reflected his face. A face no longer as cold as it once was. They didn't respond. They didn't deny it, nor did they confirm it. There was only a heavy silence, filled with all the fear, the hope, and a question that only you, the audience, can answer. Now, it's your turn. If you were John, would you choose to keep distance to protect the children's peace, or have the courage to move forward to build a new family? Leave your comment. Keep distance or move forward? Your choice today is not just an opinion. It could be an answer. A light for those whose trust is also shattered out there. Don't let a kind heart walk alone. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe to the channel. Each bit of support is a commitment that we will always stand on the side of kindness and protect the most sacred values of the family. Thank you for accompanying John. See you in the next emotional journey.